that which is related from Rasulullah and his Sahaba and so forth with a sound chain, that will be considered tafsir and everything else will be rejected. Okay? Some people will only take a few ahadith and try to do tafsir of the Quran with that. But the way they're using the hadith is contradicting with another basic fundamental aspect of Islam. So perhaps in this tafsir, we will touch on some of those aspects where people have gone wrong as well. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillahil Kareem wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd. We are beginning with Surah Al-Fatiha. And before Surah Al-Fatiha, there are two things that we are concerned with. One is isti'adah, saying A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. And the second thing is Basmala, Bismillahir-Rahman-Rahim. The short term for saying A'udhu is called isti'adah or ta'awudh in the Arabic language. And the short form of saying Bismillah is Basmala. So this isti'adah, it is an instruction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. Whenever you are about to read the Quran, then seek protection with Allah from Shaytan, the rejected. Shaytan, the accursed, or Shaytan, the rejected. And this is one occasion where the Quran addresses directly the recitation of the Quran. So because it's coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, whenever you read the Quran, say, A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. So it makes it necessary for us to discuss it before we go further. There are three other places where the Quran tells us to take the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. All three of those occasions have to do with when you're dealing with someone difficult, when you're dealing with someone who is posing to be a problem. And the instruction there is that whenever you're dealing with someone who is building up your anger and making you frustrated, at that time don't get embroiled and take the protection of Allah, because what Shaytan is going to make you do in this state is going to be very harmful and very damaging. So, idfa' billati hiya ahsan, fa idha alladhi baynaka wa baynahu adawatun ka'annahu waliyyun hamim, wa ma yulqaha illa alladhina sabaru wa ma yulqaha illa dhu hazzin 'azim, wa imma yanzaghanna min ash-shaytani nazghun, wa imma yanzaghanna min ash-shaytani nazghun fasta'idh billah. But it's a whole background that you're having difficulty with someone. Okay, don't respond in the same way that they are, and try to take the high road, and so on and so forth. But notwithstanding all of this, if Shaitan still makes you inclined to do something, then take the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And وَقَلْ رَبِّ أَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ هَمَزَاتِ الشَّيَاطِينِ وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ رَبِّ أَنْ يَحْضُرُونِ. The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is being told that, Oh Allah, I seek protection in you from hamazat al-shayateen. What are the hamazat al-shayateen? Hamazat al-shayateen can be the whispers of Shaytan, and it can also be the errors that Shaytan makes a person commit. Simple errors that result in physical damage. In Surah Abi Dawood, the tafsir of this is given because the Prophet ﷺ frequently in his salat, he used to recite in the beginning of his salat, A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim, or A'udhu billahi as-sami'il alim minash shaytanir rajim, min hamzihi wa nafthihi wa nafthihi. This is one of the Muslim du'as to recite in our salat. I seek protection in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from Shaytan, the rejected. From what specifically? Hamzihi. And Hams has been explained in the hadith by the narrators as Shaytan making you do something out of negligence or out of unawareness, such as choking on your own food, doing something else while you're eating, and it results in you choking on your own food. This is something that Shaytan does to harm a person. Similarly, all of those things that result in damage and injury to a person when a person is being careless. These are hamazat al-shayateen. And nafkhihi, nafkh literally means to blow. So the arrogance that Shaytan builds inside a person, when a person acts arrogantly or looks at someone condescendingly, and because of looking at them, looking down at somebody, they trample all over them. Like, you're nothing. So I can do this and this and this and this to you. So this is the nafkh of Shaytan. And nafkh of Shaytan, nafkh also means to blow, a different form of blowing. It refers to those things that stay in a person's mind that are irrelevant, such as lyrics of a poem, of a song, that are incorrect, they're indecent, they're inappropriate, but they're circulating through a person's mind. So these are different ways in which Shaitan attacks a person, takes advantage of a lapse in our attention to what we're doing and results in something serious happening. Or takes advantage of us, our ego, and which so seeking protection from Shaitan before recitation of the Quran means that we want our heart, our mind, our ears, our entire body to be focused on what we are about to recite. And if there's one thing that hinders that, it's Shaitan. This rage that he would go away. When Sahaba asked the Prophet, Allah, what is that? He alayhi salatu wasalam said, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. So these ahadith are reported by Imam Ahmad, Imam Nasa'i, Abu Ya'la al-Mawsili in his Musnad, and other books, and these are authentic ahadith. In fact, in Sahih Muslim and Abu Dawood, there are also narrations to the same effect. And we'll talk a little bit more about ta'awudh when we get to the tafsir of Surah Al-Nas and Surah Al-Falaq, because these are also mu'awwidhat. These are surahs that grant us protection, so we'll talk more about that under those surahs. Now, once a person says A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim with their tongue and with presence of mind and presence of heart, it's like they're entering a sanctuary. They're entering now into the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are now secured against the enemy. And of course, the greatest enemy is Shaytan himself, whose name we take in this isti'adah specifically for him. But it also gives us an upper hand in taking care of our apparent human enemies as well, those that Shaytan uses to try to compromise our iman, compromise our akhlaq, compromise our behavior. This is also the work of Shaytan. He does it sometimes through human beings, and sometimes he does it silently and discreetly by himself. So it's almost like a dua that, oh Allah, I ask you to protect me from this Shaytan who can harm me in my deen or in my dunya. Now, A'udhu Billah. I take protection with Allah, Billah, directly with Allah. Because Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who has guaranteed security and protection for those who turn towards Him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say that take protection with the name of Allah, take protection in a certain thing. He said take protection directly from me. Fasta'id billah. That's why we say A'udhu Billah directly. We take the direct protection of Allah Azza wa Jalla. What are we most concerned about? Shaytan. Now Shaytan, Satan, the devil, this word is either from the word Shaytana in the Arabic language, which means to be rebellious, to be evil, or to be out of control. And some have said it is from the word shata, which means to ignite, to burn up, because he is made from fire. The jinns are made from fire, they're made from flames, and the angels are made from nur. So it is from shata, which means the one who is lit and the one who is on fire, hinting towards the fact that he is made from fire and he's going to end up in fire. And Shaytana, if that is taken as the source of this word, then it means the one who is rebellious and the one who is out to make everyone else rebellious. And Imam Rajim al-Asfahani rahimahullah, great Imam of Lugha and great Imam of Tafsir as well, he has given both possibilities. Some have said that the word Shaytan means one who has been distanced, one who has been pushed away. All of these meanings apply to Iblis. He is made from fire, he's going to end up in fire. He is rebellious, he makes other people rebellious. He has been distanced from the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he wants to distance others. All of these meanings apply to Iblis. Rajim, Rajama means to throw something. The punishment of stoning is called Rajam, because stones are thrown. So Rajama, it means to throw, to cast, to toss something. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called him Rajim. فَإِنَّكَ رَجِيمٌ. Go away. You have been rejected, you have been cast away, you have been thrown away from my mercy. So he is a Shaytan and he is a Rajim. He is the rebellious one, the enemy, and he has been rejected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we say this, we remind ourselves that Shaytan and whatever thoughts he puts in our minds, they can never be for our benefit, they can never be in our better interest. And we are affirming to ourselves and to Allah Azza wa Jal that we cannot escape from the clutches of Iblis until and unless Allah helps us. We cannot do it on our own. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not save us, and His assistance does not come to our side, we cannot fight this Iblis by ourselves. And we are also affirming that we are all potential victims of the attacks of Iblis. In a way, we are also saying that we're weak. And Iblis could very easily play with according to Imam Malik, it's not a part of any surah, it's not a part of the Quran. Except in Surah Al-Naml, where the word Bismillah comes in the actual ayah. إِنَّهُ مِن سُلَيْمَانَ وَإِنَّهُ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ. And according to the Ahnaf, it is a portion of the Quran, but it is not a part of any specific surah. It is a part of the Quran. It has been revealed for the sake of distinguishing between the surahs and the commencement, marking the commencement of each surah. Wherever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to have this written, he alayhi salatu had it written, yet we don't consider it, the Ahnaf don't consider it a part of a specific surah, including Surah Al-Fatiha. Now, Bismillah. Note the difference between A'udhu Billah and Bismillah. There we take protection from Allah. Here we say in the name of Allah. There the word name is not used. We don't say A'udhu Bismillah. We say A'udhu Billah. And here it's Bismillah. Why? Because there we are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection, and no one can give that but He Azza wa Jal. And here we are seeking to start by the blessing of the name of Allah. We are not starting with Allah. We cannot claim, I am starting with Allah. How can somebody claim that? How do you know if Allah is with you or not? You don't. So it would be incorrect and inappropriate and inaccurate to say, Billah, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. I'm starting with Allah. No, we are starting with the blessed name of Allah. We are starting our recitation with the blessed name of Allah when it comes to Quran. Why? Because the first thing that was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ was Iqra Bismi Rabbikal Ladhi Khalaq. When Jibreel came and said, read, he said, I don't know how to read. You can't bring something to me and show it to me and expect me to figure out what the words and letters are saying. I am not a lettered person. Again, Jibreel salam squeezes him and says, read. He says, "Ma ana biqari." No, I don't read. And the third time, he squeezes him and tells him to read, but this time he tells him, "Iqra." You're not going to read on your own, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You're going to read with the name of Allah, and once you take the name of Allah, Allah is going to make it all easy for you. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. In the name of your Lord, in the name of your Rabb who has created. خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ عَلَقٍ. He created the human being from a clinging mass. If you were to look at that clinging mass in the womb of the mother, you would not expect it to ever become anything. It's like a shapeless, formless, just mass clinging there inside the womb. Who would ever expect, and who could ever assume that one day this same clinging mass is going to become a beautiful, full-grown human being? No one could say that. So just like that today, you may seem confused because you don't know how to read and you don't know what's being expected of you. So everything is completely obscure from you right now. But just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes that clinging mass and turns it into a baby and then into a full-grown human being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to teach you everything and make you into the most noble prophet. So, Bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. And the ulama of Lugha have had a discussion what it means in Arabic grammar, and there's a general usage of it. But the question they asked is, why is Ism called Ism? So some said that this is from Wasama, which means that it is a sign, it is a mark. It is a mark of whoever it represents. If my name is Aasim, then the name represents me. It is a mark of the person. And some have said it's from Sumu, which means that it is higher than all the other types of words in the Arabic language. This is why it's called Ism. Anyways, the word Ism is now not literally the name, just the word Allah. When we say Bismillah, we're not saying I'm starting with the word Allah, I'm starting in the name of Allah Himself. And Allah, in terms of lugha, the word Allah, it can have one of two sources. One possible source is alaha or aliha ya'lahu. And alaha means for the heart to yearn for something. For the heart to yearn for something, to burn for something, to have an intense desire for something, and the one that the heart beseeches in the time of their need. That is the meaning of aliha. So ilayhi ta'lahul qulub. It's towards Him that all hearts rush and are inclined, and it's towards Him that all the makhluqat run to for their need. This is one meaning of it. And they say, the ulama that say that this is the source, they say, look what the Quran says, تُسَبِّحُ لَهُ السَّمَاوَاتُ السَّبْعُ وَالْأَرْضُ وَمَنْ فِيهِمْ. All of the heavens and all of the earth, and everything that lies in between, they glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they adore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in some places, everything is making, the Quran mentions that everything is making sujood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they say that this is from aliha, and from that the word ilah is formed. And the word Allah is actually another form of saying al-ilah, the only one that the hearts should turn towards. Al-ilah. And some have said that it comes from laha yalu, and others have said that it does not have any origin, it does not have any root. Allah is just Allah, it is not derived from anything, and it is the proper name for our Lord Azza wa Jalla. These are three opinions regarding the word. Those who say it's from Laha Yaluhu, Laha, it means to disappear or to be hidden, to be veiled, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in front of His creation, He is veiled from His creation, He is Al-Latif Al-Khabir. So they say this is the origin, this is the root of the word Allah. I'm saying this because this is the most noble and grand and important name in the world. So it's good for us to familiarize ourselves with it. Bismillah. Now before we go further, doing things and starting in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something that we have been told to do in all our good things, in all our affairs, to say Bismillah. And some ahadith mention even if it's a word thing, before commencing any act. And when you look at the Muslim du'as of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you will see the word Bismillah comes at the beginning of many of those Muslim du'as, including the du'as for starting our day, the du'as for ending our day, the du'as for entering into the masjid, the du'as for leaving the masjid, and so on and so forth. And this Bismillah is not only a source of blessing, but it is the mark of a Muslim. It is the mark of a Muslim, the mark of a believer, that whatever they do in the name of Allah. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah mentions a hadith, I'm not going to mention the whole hadith, but regarding Fir'aun. Fir'aun had this one maid who used to tend to the children of the household, the mashallah, the one who grooms the children. And one day while she was grooming the daughter of Fir'aun, the comb fell out of her hand. And as soon as it fell out of her hand, she said, Bismillah. So the daughter became intrigued that what is this? What is this Bismillah? Is there any ilah other than Fir'aun? And so she declared her iman that no, there is someone who has created Fir'aun as well. And that resulted in her being punished very, very severely, and having these big stakes driven through her hands and her feet. So Bismillah is the hallmark of a Muslim. Anything we do, getting in your car, getting out of your car, before we eat, and so on and so forth, we should make it a habit to take the blessed name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, Mufassirin have said that this Bismillah is one of the sha'air of Islam, is one of the symbols of Islam, one of the things through which Islam and Muslims are recognized. And it is also a plea to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bismillah is also a plea to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that, oh Allah, I need you, I need your assistance in whatever I'm going to do. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. That Allah, the name of that Allah who is Ar-Rahman and who is Ar-Rahim. Now, we know that both are derived from Rahmah. And Rahmah means mercy. So why is a name that describes mercy mentioned twice? Why is it? Why is Rahmah brought? It could have been another quality with mercy. It could have been Ghafur Rahim. It could have been his knowledge and his mercy. It could have been his protection and his mercy. It could have been any combination. But his mercy and then his mercy. Because there are two types of mercy, two kinds of mercy that every one of us needs at all times. There is the general mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which encompasses all His makhluqat. It's a very big mercy. It's an immense mercy. And this is what Mufassirin have said. We hear this from the Tabi'is and Atba'u Tabi'in and all the major Mufassirin that the word Rahman, it is much more emphatic, it is much greater and more powerful in meaning than Ar-Rahim. And the word Ar-Rahman is restricted to exclusive for Allah Azza wa Jalla. It cannot be used for any makhluk, but the word Rahim can. Somebody can have the name Rahim. And the Prophet ﷺ is also described as Ra'uf al-Rahim. But the word Rahman cannot be used as a name for anyone other than Allah Azza wa Jalla. It is exclusive, just like the word Allah cannot be used. And that's why if somebody has Rahman in their name, we should never abbreviate it and call him Brother Rahman or Mr. Rahman. Allah says, قُلِ ادْعُوا اللَّهَ أَوْ ادْعُوا الرَّحْمَنَ أَيَّمَّا تَدْعُوا فَلَهُ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى. You say Allah or you say Rahman, it's referring to one and the same. It's the exact same thing. So saying Brother Rahman or Mr. Rahman is just like saying Mr. Allah. Would anyone dare to say that? No. But just because we are lazy, we don't want to say Abdul Rahman or Ubaidur Rahman or Mujibur Rahman or whatever his name is. We don't want to say just our laziness and it turns him into Mr. Rahman. Rahman is the one whose mercy encompasses all the creations in dunya and akhirah. This is the mercy through which even those who don't believe in Allah are sustained by Allah. And this is the mercy through which even those who become the enemies of Allah are sustained and protected by Allah. And this is the mercy that encompasses all the kainat, all the makhluqat. The authentic hadith tells us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has divided His mercy into 100 portions and has given just one of those portions here in this dunya. One. In other words, 1% of the mercy of Allah is enough for this whole world. And the Prophet ﷺ gives examples of it. It is through that mercy that every mother has mercy and sympathy for her child. Even the animals. He gives the example that an animal, for example a cow, has a newborn and it's so small and clumsy, it's stumbling around and it's getting under the feet of this massive mother cow or camel or whatever it is, and one step of it will crush that child. So the animal is about to take a step and crush its own baby, but she senses something underneath her hoof, and she moves her hoof back. Nabi Sallallahu says that is also coming from that 1%. And all of the kindness and sympathy and charitability that human beings show to one another, it's all coming from that 1%. And He has kept 99% for Yawm al-Qiyamah, through which He is going to save people, masses and masses and masses of people from Jahannam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using that mercy as a counterweight, because on that day, like the hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, إِنَّ رَبِّكَ الْغَضِيرَ الْيَوْمَ غَضَبًا لَمْ يَغْضَبْ قَبْلَهُ مِثْلَهُ وَلَنْ يَغْضَبَ بَعْدَهُ مِثْلَهُ. Today my Lord is in such a rage, in such a fury, He has never been this angry before, He shall never be this angry again. So there, that 99% of the mercy of Allah is going to come and act as a counterweight. Where all the prophets ﷺ will be scared to come and say anything in front of Allah, then Nabi ﷺ, who is Rahmatan lil Alameen, will come and bow and prostrate in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and praise Him, glorify Him and beg Him, and then win over those 99% for His ummah and for the believers. So Rahman is the one whose mercy is very, very vast. Rahmati wasi'at kulla shay, Allah says. That my rahmah is broader than everything. And this is the rahmah through which people get forgiven, through which maghfirah is attained. This is the rahmah through which Jannah is attained. This is the rahmah through which all of those people who are rebelling against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are pardoned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the maghfirah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes through this rahmah of Ar-Rahman. And Ar-Rahim is the special mercy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows to those who believe in Him and those who are obedient. Opening up doors for them, solving their problems, granting them reward, and protecting them from difficulties and disasters, protecting them from Shaytan. So you see how all of us are in need of both types of mercy? We can't go anywhere without the vast mercy of Allah. And as Muslims, we cannot do anything without the specific mercy of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And this is what the majority of the Mufassirin have said, even though there are other aqwal and other opinions as well, explaining this Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Now, as I said, some of the scholars say that this Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is a part of Surah Al-Fatiha. Others say that it is not. But let's talk a little bit about Surah Al-Fatiha. Al-Fatiha is the essence and the summary of the whole Quran. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya rahimahullah writes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Inna Allah anzala mi'ata kitabin wa arba'ata kutubin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed 100 scriptures and 4 major books. And whatever was in those 100 scriptures is summarized in these 4 books. And the first 3 of those books, the Torah, the Zabur, and Injil, the first 3 of these books have a summary of everything that was in those 100. And the last of them, the Quran, has a summary of whatever was in those first 3, which are a summary of whatever was in the 100. Now in the Quran, the surahs that are the Mufassalat, and we'll talk about them inshallah when they come. These surahs summarize everything that are in the Quran. So these serve as a summary of all the content of the Quran. And Surah Al-Fatiha is a summary of all of those surahs, which are a summary of the whole Quran, which is a summary of everything that was revealed before it. So Al-Fatiha is the gist, the essence, the extract, or the nectar of everything that has been revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to all His prophets alayhi salatu wasalam. Then He goes further and He says, there is one that even summarizes all of Fatiha. And in fact, it summarizes everything that was revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One ayat, this surah. And that is إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. So that makes this surah a very, very powerful and pivotal surah. This is why it is called Ummul Kitab. The word in the Arabic language is used not just for mother. It is used for that thing which becomes the head underneath which many things gather. Anything that is the head, it is major and there are many things included underneath it, or that thing which gathers and includes many things, it is called which is why our skull, the upper part of our skull, in the Arabic language is also called Ras. If you were to translate it literally, the mother of the head. That's not what it means. This is what encompasses the whole brain. It encompasses all of it. This bone, or this series of bones, comprises and comprehends everything. It holds it all together. It is called Ras, the mother of the head. Without it, the head cannot stay together. That's why Makkah is called Qura. Literally, people translate it the mother of all towns. It's not the mother, it is the most important pivotal town of all the cities of the world. And it is the first of all of them. So it is called Kitab. And it is called As-Sab' al-Mathani. The 7 al-Mathani. Mathani is plural of Mathna. And Mathna means something that comes in twos. Something that happens in pairs. The Quran is called Mathani because its topics are paired up. Prophet held my hand and started walking out. And just before he was about to exit, I asked the Prophet of Allah, didn't you say that you're going to teach me the greatest surah of the Quran? He said, yes. Then he read to him Surah Al-Fatiha. And he said, this surah is As-Sab' al-Mathani, and this surah is the gist of the great Quran that I have been given. Similar hadith has been reported from Ubay ibn Ka'ab radiallahu anhu. The Prophet ﷺ told him that I'm going to teach you the greatest surah of the Quran, and he taught him Surah Al-Fatiha. So the surah begins with Alhamd, and Hamd is when you praise something with your tongue. وَالثَّنَاءُ بِاللِّسَانِ عَلَى الْجَمِيلِ الْإِخْتِيَارِيِّ نِعْمَةً كَانَ وَغَيْرَهَا. It is to praise with your tongue something beautiful, but something which is done intentionally. So something that is not done intentionally, the word hamd doesn't apply to it. Now whether that's a ni'mah, whether it's something else, it doesn't matter. And it is hamd. Hamd is exclusive for Allah Azza wa Jalla. It is مخصوص للذات الواجب الوجود المستجمع لجميع صفات الكمال. Hamd can only be used for that being who is necessarily existent, meaning whose existence is absolutely necessary. The world cannot exist without it. Nothing can exist without him. Whose existence is absolutely necessary, and he possesses all of the qualities of perfection. And that is what Allah is. Somebody asks, what is Allah? Al-Dhat al-Wajib al-Wujud. He is the one who is necessarily existent. And he possesses every trait, every attribute of perfection. So hamd is exclusive for him. That's why we say Alhamdulillah. Hamd, all praise, we say generally. The word praise doesn't exactly express what hamd is. Hamd is much greater than praise, because the word praise, you can use it for anything, for anyone. You can praise someone for their good looks, you can praise someone for their hard work, you can praise someone for anything. But hamd is something much more powerful. And hamd is something that is very much beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so when you go through the books of hadith and you read all of the virtues of saying Alhamdulillah, that all praises for Allah. In other words, whatever good is out there in the world, whatever beauty there is, whatever charm, whatever perfection, whatever good there is out there, it is all attributed to Allah Azza wa Jal. Its perfection is coming from Allah, who is the perfect Himself. Its beauty is coming from Allah. Every good that someone does to us, that is also attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every good that we have is attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He is Rabbil Alameen. He describes Himself here as Rabbil Alameen. Could have used another trait, another attribute. Rabb is the one who takes something from its most basic and first phase until its completion and sustains it from this point to that point. Take the human being, for example. He is created from a drop of sperm. The sperm fertilizes the egg, and now this baby starts forming gradually, slowly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created that drop of sperm. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the egg. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the unity the union that took place between the two. And the moment these two have met and conception takes place, a child is conceived, from that second all the way until it's grown to a complete baby, and then its time comes for it to be born, to be delivered, and it continues. Allah continues to provide it, now through a different means, completely different. Allah was providing it through its baby in one way, through its mother in one way. Allah is providing it now through its mother in another way, and eventually the child gets weaned, and then it starts eating solids, and it's growing, and this beautiful series of changes takes him all the way into his senior years, all the way to his last breath. Who is the one who took it from its first phase to its last phase and sustained it all the way in between? It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah does this for every single thing that exists. From a blade of grass to the galaxies. Allah is the Rabb of all the Alameen. Alameen, the different types of makhluqat. There's much discussion on what the word Alameen refers to. But the general consensus is, it means all the makhluqat, everything that exists in the heavens and in the earth. Allah is its sustainer, He is its Rabb. And no one can sustain it other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the word Alameen is plural of alam. And alam is a very interesting word because it's derived from ilm. It's derived from ilm. And this pattern, alam, it is used to indicate the tool through which something is done. So for example, the word khatam refers to a ring, it also refers to a seal. Same wazn we see, it's on the same pattern. Alam, khatam. So khatam is a seal, it's that thing that you use to seal something, to seal a document. So alam is the tool through which knowledge is attained. And what an amazing and complex idea, that don't look at makhluqat as just created things. Look at each one of them as a tool for gaining knowledge about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they're alameen. He didn't say Rabb al-Makhluqeen or Rabb al-Kainat. Rabb al-Alameen. He is the Lord of all of those things through which you can learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So every makhluk, every species that exists is in fact, it is a way of getting closer to Allah. If you just study it, look at it. It came from nothingness. Allah gave it its wujud. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave it its existence. Allah is its khaliq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might have created it from another substance. Allah is fatir. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might have taken it and scattered it all over the world. He is al-Thali. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and of this surah, and many, many things to reflect upon are left in our minds once we read it with this type of reflection. So we will keep this session to this. Today we've covered quite a bit, even though we haven't covered a lot of material in terms of Quranic verses. But because this surah is the most read surah in all of mankind, and we read it every single day, in every rak'ah of every salah, we need to understand it with some depth. So that when we are communicating with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we realize what we are saying to Him and what He is saying to us. And inshallah, in the next lesson, we'll talk about the fadail of Surah Al-Fatiha, what are the virtues of this that are mentioned in Hadith, and we'll talk about a little bit more about how powerful this surah really is. May Allah give us tawfiq. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah wa bihamdihi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursalin, walhamdulillah.